Congressman John Campbell of California has taken up Barney Frank's proposals to regulate internet gambling and turn them into a bill of his own. But with the DOJ's indictment of the world's leading poker sites still reverberating in the online gambling world, the congressman told Gambling Compliance that he believes the bill must be seen for its consumer protection benefits and not the money it may raise from taxation.
The tax revenue is nice, and it's certainly something we should mention, but I don't think it should be the primary issue with which we lead on this bill, because it makes it sound like we're doing something bad here and we're only doing it for the money. That's not the case. I don't think it is the best reason for doing it. Yes, we have deficits. Yes, we need additional revenue. But the main reason for doing this, in my view, is kind of three things. One is just freedom to allow Americans to legally do what they are now doing illegally in droves and many millions. Secondly, to provide them consumer protection, which they're not getting now from many of these offshore sites. And thirdly, that we create jobs and a new economic growth in the United States. It's hard enough for the federal government to regulate the borderless internet, and I think it's way harder for a state to do it. So I think that in the end this legislation will have to be federal, but even though we have federal legislation, we empower the states to do the regulation, and we also give the states the ability to opt out. So right now I think the state efforts are complementary and actually helping us move the federal legislation forward.
What impact does Black Friday have on the landscape in the US, and how does it make your bill less or more relevant? I
think it has both a positive and negative aspect to it. It certainly raised the profile of this bill because of this. This was a very high-profile raid, prosecution, whatever you want to call it, that the Department of Justice did. It clearly is a negative in one sense because it makes those who oppose the bill, it reinforces their belief that the only people who do online gaming are law-breaking bad entities that do bad things. But on the other hand, I think it helps the bill in that it shows, you know why they did this? Because millions of people were on these sites. And you know what? Those were millions of Americans who are not being treated well, who do not have consumer protection using a lot of these offshore sites. So I think it also gives us, and it's certainly what I've been saying in Washington these days, is, you know what, this is exactly the reason we do need to do this bill, is in order to provide Americans a venue by which they can do this and do it legally, but also be protected from some of these offshore sites that aren't going to do it in the right way. From what I can tell at this point, most of the brick and mortar casino industry has kind of come together. They were definitely split last year, but that they appear to have come together on this. I think the horse racing industry is with them, and I think most of the tribes, or many of the tribes, are there. There are still some tribes who seem to not be interested in it. It'd be nice if they all were, but I think that we have a critical mass at the moment that is much better than what we had last year.